Let me tell you about my epic fail photographing the moonrise the other day. So this is how it all started. I'm driving home and it's kind of around sunset and I'm driving into a valley and my sister had mentioned the other day, you know, the salmon are running up the river. If you're going that way, why don't you stop in and take a look at the salmon run? The river's full of salmon. So I'm in the area. I thought, you know what, I'll pull over and I'll go and look at the salmon, and it's fantastic. The river's full of salmon. Now, as I'm walking back to my car, I noticed, well, the moon has come up and it's glorious. It's low, it's full, and it's bright. And now there's not really a great photograph. There's no subject, but the moonrise is spectacular. So I had my camera with me. I pull it out and I set up the tripod and I take the meter reading. And I get a meter reading of about a second at maybe 32 of a spot meter reading of the moon. And since it's the highlight of the photo, I open up about a stop and a half. So I'm shooting at maybe 1 second at 16 or 1 second at 22. I did 2 frames. There's no subject. It's just I wanted to see what the moon looked like. So using the spot meter, it gave me 32 and a half at 1 second. And then if I called that the highlight, it was 1 second at 16. And I also did one at f22. So there we go. So I continue on my way home and I'm thinking, I wonder if that was a full moon. I should check when I get home. And I check and it wasn't a full moon, but the next day is a full moon. I think, fantastic. I'm going to go photograph the moonrise. I'm going to go to Rockwood and photograph the moonrise over the cliffs. Now, there's a lot of great photographs of moonrises. A guy, what was his name? Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams had a couple of great moonrise shots. Very, very nicely done. Very nicely done. Now, if you don't know who Ansel Adams is, you should probably stop the video right now. No, don't stop the video and give up photography, although that would be one option. But if you don't know who Ansel Adams is, you should stop the video and just do a little Google search on Ansel Adams. An amazing American landscape photographer. The great landscapes of Yosemite and the Sierra Nevadas and Alaska and all of this. A great American black and white landscape photographer, Ansel Adams. You should know who he is. Anyways, the next day I decide I'm going to photograph the moonrise over Rockwood. Now, in Ansel Adams' photograph, Moonrise over Half Dome is like 1,000 or 2,000 feet high, and it's spectacular and it's wonderful. And I'm going to a place, the rock face, it could be 20 feet, it could be 30 feet. It's probably not 30. It's probably like 20 feet. It's a 20-foot cliff. So it's not as spectacular. It's not quite as spectacular as Half Dome. I'm just going to put that out there. Anyways, this is where I'm going to do my moonrise shot. Now, I've photographed this little island before, and I knew the sun sets sort of in this direction, so it's going to work out okay. I get to the park around 3 o'clock. I hike in. I've got my tripod. I've got my gloves on. Maybe it'll be cooler later. Anyways, I go there and I set up. Now, the sun is spectacular. No clouds, full sun on this little island and on the little cliff, smaller yet, like 10-foot cliff, to the left of it. So my first photographs kind of work out like this. At this point I have full sun, so I've got a lot of sky. This is a very horizontal photo. Not sure that the ducks or geese are helping, but anyways, full sun. I'll take a meter reading and we'll see what we get. And when we switch to the spot meter, if you went right off that rock face, that was the same exposure as the incident. So that would give us 60th at f16. Open up 2 for the filter. So I'm working the situation a little bit. I've started off with a 120mm lens and I'm moving around and I'm switching lenses and I'm trying some filters. I shoot with the 120, a little loose still. I shoot with the 180. It's better, but it's still a little loose. I go with the 250. And the 250 is okay. A 350 would be better, but I don't have a 350. So I kind of move around different spots and different lenses, and I settle on, this is my spot. 250mm lens, orange filter. Let's get this moonrise sunset scenario. Now, it's, I don't know, 4:30. I wait, and I wait. Now, it's an island, and the shadows don't really arrive until just before sunset. Because it's in the middle of the lake, there's no real shadows until about sunset. So I'm watching the light, the shadows grow on my island. They start on the water. Now the geese, which don't add to my photo in any way, now the geese and the ducks are there in shadows, and the shadow is slowly creeping up on my rock face. I'm metering with a spot meter. Now, when I first got there and the sun was a bit higher, I was saying that the island, the rock face, was kind of like the mid-tone. So I was setting my exposure off of the rock. But as the sun got lower, still direct sun on the rock face, it kind of started to glow a little bit. And the rock face, I determined, it's not mid-tone, it's probably a bit of a highlight. So I want to meter off of it, but then open up a little bit to keep it a highlight with detail. That's what I wanted from the rock cliff. Now, this is what I learned about sunsets. This is what I learned about moonrise. This is what I learned about epic fails. So I'm watching my island and the sun is creeping down and the shadows are creeping up. No moon. Where's this moon? Don't see it. And eventually the shadows have overtaken the island and the sun goes down. Wasted. Failure. So I did try to take a photo or two. My exposures are now like 4 minutes and it's just dark and ugly and over. And I start to pack up and lo and behold, there's the moon. Pops up. Where? Right over the island. Perfect location for the moon, full moon, right over my island. But the light is gone. There's nothing. All I've got is a moon glow over a black island. It's over. So what did I learn from this fail? Well, you have to think about these things greater. And I'm not a moonrise kind of photographer. I haven't photographed the moonrise before. Ansel Adams had it figured out, that's for sure. But I never did. So I learned a lot. I learned that you should always take a hat and probably gloves. You should always take gloves and probably a hat. Yeah, you need those two things. You're going to have to hike back in the dark. So I did bring a flashlight, like a headset. So that was a good idea. But you're going to have to hike back in the dark. It's going to be cold and you need overlap. So let's say the sunset is 6 p.m. Sunset 6 p.m. The picture is 5 p.m. So I need a bit of time with the sun glowing on this island. Now the sun, it's on the island, and then then the shadows creep up and it's all done. And then the whole island is in shade. So I need about an hour before sunset to take the photograph. Now, most days in the fall, the sun sets a little bit earlier every day. 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, something like that. And you look it up on a chart and it tells you when the sunset is. So I need to be there to take the photo 1 hour before the given sunset. I'm going to look up for this little town. What time is sunset? I need to be there an hour before. Now, what time is moonrise? I thought it would be similar to the day before. Like the day before, around 6 or 7 o'clock, the moonrise was there. It was magnificent. Well, the moonrise isn't the same as the sunset. It changes more dramatically. It's not 2 or 3 minutes difference than yesterday. Some days it is. Other days it's hours different. So you need to look up on a chart when the moonrise is for your location. Now this location, I looked up the moonrise, but that wasn't when the moon rose. It probably rose in town at that time. It probably rose over the farmers' fields at that time, but I'm kind of in a valley with cliffs. So now it's 6:30, the light is gone, the moon hasn't arrived yet, should be here any moment, and my exposure times are like f16 at 15 seconds, something like that. It's the brightest part, so I'm not just metering off of it, I'm metering off of it plus opening up a stop and a half, because now it's the highlight of the picture. So the moonrise was probably half an hour delayed from what the printed official moonrise is, because that official moonrise is for the town and the flat fields, but I'm in a valley with cliffs. So I need to overlap. I need to have a time when the moonrise is about an hour and a half before sunset. So it takes half an hour from the printed time to when the moon shows up where I am. So half an hour. And I want this direct sun on the island about an hour before sunset. So I need to find a time, look at these charts and compare them. When does the sun set and when is the moon rise? About an hour and a half before sunset. So let's say sunset is going to be at 6 o'clock. I need to find a moonrise at 4:30 because it's going to take half an hour for the moonrise. It starts at 4:30. It's going to take half an hour till I can see it because I'm in a valley with cliffs. So that's 5 o'clock. And I want to start to photograph with about an hour of sunlight left. So again, if sunset is 6 o'clock, that's 5 o'clock. So I need to find on these two charts a time when the moonrise is about an hour and a half before the sunset. And you look that up and you come up with a date, and that's actually, there's going to be a day where that exists. We'll go see how we do. Now, will it be a classic moonrise over Rockwood? I don't know. It might not be as good as Ansel Adams' shot. He had the benefit of Half Dome and the beautiful cliffs. But it'll probably be just as good as Ansel Adams. We'll find out. Maybe he's a better photographer than me after all. We'll see. We'll give it a try. Just saying.